Hello and welcome back to Game Domain. This video is going to be a very personal one for our head writer and co-owner Jason, similar to his top 10 favorite games video that came out alongside Domain 76's back in November for the channel's 4th year anniversary. Those type of personal videos have been all well received by you guys, so we thought that we'd go ahead and have Jason bring you guys a very special video that means a lot to him. Jason has been a lifelong Pokemon fan, being entrenched in the world of Pokemon since his first journey throughout the Hoenn region. Pokemon is a unique franchise like no other, as you have individual creatures that you train with, raise, and battle with throughout your entire adventure. You can also transfer these Pokemon to newer generations, and these unique and special Pokemon will be with you for the rest of the Pokemon eternity. This unique atmosphere of Pokemon games allows for great attachment and nostalgia associated with every single Pokemon, and diehard fans like Jason have a certain few that take the cake for being his favorite Pokemon of all time. So without any more bantering, we are going to turn the writing back over to Jason to talk about his top 5 favorite Pokemon. And just keep in mind, this is a completely personal list. It's not a ranking of Pokemon, it's just the Pokemon that matter most to Jason, and not everybody has to feel the same way. Alright, so let's get into the list. So before we get into my actual top 5, I just want to take some time to talk about the Pokemon that just missed out on being on my favorites list, and serve as honorable mention here today. We'll start off with 2 legendaries that just missed out on being on this list, and that is Lugia and Rayquaza. Rayquaza has nostalgic and emotional value to me, as I will never forget how challenging it was to navigate through Sky Pillar to get to fight and capture that powerful level 70 Rayquaza in Pokemon Sapphire, which I still have till this day as level 100 in my Ultra Sun copy. Lugia has also always had a special place in my heart, partially due to how cool it looks and how amazing it was in the movie Pokemon 2000, one that I watched countless times when I was a kid. The other Pokemon that just missed out here were Aggron, Blaziken, and Feraligatr. Aggron was my very first Pokemon team back in Sapphire, and I still have that nearly decade-and-a-half old Pokemon on my Ultra Sun. Blaziken was my starter when I played through Pokemon Emerald, which I picked up at GameStop shortly after the release of Pokemon Platinum. I still have that first Blaziken on my Ultra Sun, and it's also a level 100. Feraligatr, and the whole line really, just missed out on being in the number 5 spot on my list, and I will always be attached to my first ever Johto adventure in Soul Silver when I chose Totodile back on launch day in 2010. Great memories with all those Pokemon. But now it's time to get into the actual list. Each entry is going to be short, sweet, and right to the point, so let's get on with it. Number 5, Milotic. This number 5 entry is one that probably would not have appeared on my list if you asked me a few years ago. Milotic is a unique and elegantly powerful Pokemon that I have grown to love tremendously, over the past few years especially. Milotic was always a Pokemon that I looked fondly upon, but I never actually had one until I played through Alpha Sapphire back in 2014. In the original Generation 3 games, Phoebus was nearly impossible to catch, with its catchable fishing location being randomly generated and unique to each game. And you have to virtually fish on every single tile on the river in Route 119 in Hoenn. And then, after you finally caught this Phoebus, you could only evolve it into Milotic by using the game's brand new gimmick features, Contests, which made it a massive accomplishment to have a Milotic in those original Generation 3 games. I, for one, was never lucky enough to get a Milotic, but I did actually recently discover a Phoebus in my PC on my original Emerald copy that I must have thought nothing about back in the day when I caught it. When Alpha Sapphire came out, they made this process to catch Phoebus and get a Milotic much more plausible, and I was able to add one to my collection after I beat the Elite Four. I always loved Milotic's design and how it looked so stunningly gorgeous, but yet so powerful at the same time. Something always amazes me about this Pokemon when Wallace threw it out there in the Pokemon Emerald Champion battle, and even back then I always wanted this Pokemon on my team. After training with Milotic in Alpha Sapphire, I grew to love it even more and leveled it all the way up to 100, and it is now safely residing on my Pokemon Shield copy, and safely resides in my number 5 spot on my top 5 favorite Pokemon. Number 4, Chikorita. If you would have asked me who my favorite Johto starter was back in 2010 when I first played Soul Silver, I would have told you Totodile. If you asked me who my second favorite Johto starter was, I would have told you Cyndaquil. If you would have asked me those questions every single year throughout the past decade, I would have given you the same answer until around 2018. The Heart Gold and Soul Silver games are personally my second favorite in the series, and I go back and play them about once a year. The past few times I've played through them though, I haven't rotated my starter choice, but yet I have picked the adorable little green Chikorita every time. Chikorita is arguably the most underrated starter, and the same goes for what I believe is the greatest middle evolution starter, Bayleaf. I only put Chikorita on this spot because there is something that just gives me nostalgia and attachment to this Pokemon. All of the journeys I've missed out on using it, and now I have made up for all that time by choosing Chikorita on my last 3 playthroughs of the Johto region. Chikorita just has the adorable appeal, and the ferocity of Ash's Chikorita in the Pokemon anime also gave me so many fond memories of this Pokemon. Normally, a starter Pokemon counts as the whole line for me, but Chikorita has a unique case of just appearing on my list as the first evolution stage. And you can throw Bayleaf and Meganium on this spot if you want to, because I love those Mons just as much. Chikorita may be another recent addition to this list, but either way, it finds itself as my 4th favorite Pokemon. Number 3, Deoxys. As I said before, each of the last 2 entries on my personal top 5 favorite Pokemon are fairly new additions, and might not have been on the list if I wrote this just a year or 2 ago. But something else needs to be said about this top 3. Since I first got my hands on my brother's copy of Pokemon Sapphire back when I was 6, after already being entrenched in the anime and card game since I was born, my top 3 favorite Pokemon have never ever changed. From the dawn of my in-game Pokemon fandom, these top 3 have always been my top 3, and will likely never leave this list. So that brings us to the number 3 entry, with that being my favorite legendary, Deoxys. Being a Generation 3 lifer, there was always something eerie and amazing about Deoxys. I remember seeing Deoxys in the Deoxys and Rayquaza Pokemon movie, which I have pretty fond memories of, and I was always upset that you could never catch Deoxys in-game. But I always remember seeing hacked Deoxys in YouTube videos and in friends' copies of the original Generation 3 games, and I yearned for the day that I could have a Deoxys of my own. On a quick side note, another reason why I love Deoxys so much is because of that shiny Pokemon. I mean, man, it is beautiful. One day on my Pokemon Emerald, my brother traded me a Game Sharked Deoxys that he got from one of his friends, and even though the OT name wasn't mine, I still grew attached to that Pokemon from the very beginning, and hoped that one day I would be able to catch that Mon. Then the hype of Oris rolled around, and caught in it was the new playable post-game called the Delta episode. I flew through the main game, as I do when the new games come out, and found myself at the end of the Delta episode just a week after getting the new titles, that served as nostalgia remakes to my favorite games of all time. The end of the Delta episode showed you saving the world, teaming up with Mega Rayquaza after you catch it to go up and destroy the meteorite coming down into Hoenn. Never in a million years would I have expected this, but at the end of the cutscene when you destroy the meteorite, a little triangle appears. Casual fans wouldn't recognize, but I sure as heck did. I immediately freaked out and jumped out of my bed to go tell my brothers about it, as the triangle bounced back and forth, and from it erupted a level 80 Deoxys, accompanied by a remastered version of the original battle. Deoxys theme from Emerald. I will never forget the excitement that overcame me when I finally had the chance to catch Deoxys, and I still have that Deoxys as a level 100 on my Ultra Sun copy, and it will always stand as my 3rd favorite Pokemon of all time. Number 2, Swellow. The reasoning behind my number 2 entry is actually not at all in depth. Most everybody remembers, and some still carry with them, their first ever Pokemon, the starter that they choose in their first ever game. I will never forget my first ever Pokemon, which we will get to shortly, and I will also never forget my second Pokemon. Shortly after showing Wally how to catch a Pokemon by instruction of your dad in Petalburg City in Sapphire, I quickly made my way to the beautiful Oceanside Route 4, and scurried into the grass to see what the first Pokemon I could catch would be. What appeared out of the grass was the small Hoenn bird Pokemon Tailo, and I instantly caught it to be a member of my first ever team. From this point on, that Tailo, and now obviously a Swellow, would stay with me all the way up until my Ultra Sun copy, now being a level 100. This Swellow was a part of my original Pokemon journey, my second ever Pokemon, and the first Pokemon I ever caught. Swellow's design is also fairly underrated and is overshadowed by the iconic and nostalgic Pidgeot that came before it, and the badass-looking Staraptor that came after it. I have a Swellow on virtually every single one of my Hoenn journeys, which is probably like 30 different playthroughs of the original Generation 3 games and their 2014 remakes, and nothing will ever be able to take this Pokemon off the number 2 spot on my favorite Pokemon of all time. But, like I said at the beginning of this entry, every Pokemon fan will never forget their first Pokemon, and I'm certainly among them. So let's see what Pokemon takes the top spot for being my favorite Pokemon of all time. Number 1, Mudkip, Marshtop, Swampert. When I first loaded up Pokemon Sapphire, I had no clue what to expect. I was at the age of 6 and had already equipped myself with a decent amount of Pokemon knowledge from playing the card game with my brothers and watching the Pokemon anime. The first major event in the game, which comes essentially right after you begin your journey, is walking over to Route 101 to the north of Little Root Town to find Professor Birch in a struggle with a Poochyena. When you go near him, he asks you to take a Pokemon out of his bag to fight the Poochyena with. In the game, you are at the age of 10, and this is your first chance to own a Pokemon. I looked in the bag and saw the 3 starters: Trico, the grass type, Torchic, the fire type, and finally Mudkip, the water type. Looking at each Pokemon, I wasn't really looking into type or their design, but rather which Pokemon seemed like it was calling to me to be a part of my adventure. I only felt that attachment to one of them, of course being the water type, Mudkip. I chose Mudkip in Sapphire, and from that moment on, I've kept the same exact Mudkip all the way till the present day. In my Sapphire playthrough, it evolved into Marshtomp, and then a Swampert. both of which share this #1 spot with the pre-evolved form of Mudkip. When I got Pokemon Platinum on release day, I transferred my Swampert to the new generation through the PAL Park on the Nintendo DS. It was on that copy of Platinum that I trained Swampert to be a level 100, my first level 100 Pokemon. I then traded Swampert to Soul Silver when that game came out, and then to White, and then to White 2, and then to Alpha Sapphire. Yes, I skipped over X and Y when they first came out. And then to Sun, and then to Ultra Sun, where my level 100 Swampert still resides, ready to be moved onto the Switch when it is added to the Sword and Shield Pokedex. It is incredible to me how this Pokemon, this fictional creature, this ball of game code, has had such a major impact on my gaming life for all this time. For over a decade now, this same Pokemon has been my favorite video game character of all time, and will always have a spot in my heart as not only my first Pokemon of all time, but my favorite Pokemon of all time. Wow, that was certainly a very personal video for me to make, and I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. And by the way, this is the VO guy talking. I'm not actually Jason. Jason writes virtually every single script on our channel, but he doesn't do any of the VOs. So I was just voicing his top 5 favorite Pokemon. Let me know what your top 5 favorite Pokemon are in the comments. Thanks for watching today's video. Tell us what you thought of today's video in the comment section below. Don't forget to click subscribe and leave a like on today's video, as well as check out some of our recent uploads. Make sure you also check out the links in the description, as there you'll find the link to our Patreon and to join our Discord. Join our Discord to connect with our staff here at the channel, as well as participate in the great Domain Legion content we have going on there. Our Discord is open to all gaming fans, as we now have over 400 plus fans of the channel and gamers talking about what we love to do every single day. So come on and join to participate in this great community. We would once again like to thank you guys for all of your incredible support, and thanks for watching today's video. We'll see you next time.